Alright folks, turn 27, the battle in Rlyeh has happened. Let's take a look at it, shall we? Here in the Russian corner, the army of Bogarus, led by their great god Rincewind, the Allfather, and Pafnuti the Knyaz, one of many Pafnutis, plus Yakim in the back. We have our little squadron of flanking cavalry, big old line of infantry up front, together with various native auxiliaries and mercenaries. We've got a gang of Bandar warriors, we've got a gang of Ictiids, got some lizard warriors on both flanks. Behind them, we have a squadron of heavy infantry, and then a large group of, two large groups actually, of crossbows mixed with Voy archers. We also have count them, five astropelagists with air gems. And of course, Rincewind. And over here in the Erythian corner, the Fantasy Egypt corner, we've got a couple flanking little squads of infantry, Erythian phalangites, soldiers of the setting sun. We've got a few archers scattered out front to presumably take the brunt of evocations if I was spamming evocations. Big old line of infantry followed by a block of province defense with more soldiers of the setting sun. In the rear here we have 1, 2, 3 magi and 1, 2, 3 dadukoi, including the prophet Whippos. And at the very back we have a little bit more province defense and another commander. So let's see what happens, shall we? He's casting some mind duel, or magic duel rather. So a couple of my mages do get killed right off the bat, unfortunately. However, I think they don't take anybody with them, it looks like. So he wins a couple of the early magic duels. However, my air elementals then jump into the back and start immediately wreaking havoc. In the meantime, the lines of infantry are clashing, and my infantry is winning out. The Erythian phalangites are having some trouble, especially because the air elementals keep trampling into the middle of them. That one's already killed 4. This air elemental, if I can say words, in the back, has only gotten 9 kills, but I think at least one of them was a mage. And this one back here, of course, is just absolutely ruining the back lines. 6 kills, definitely including a mage back there. So the infantry and the crossbows just keep wreaking havoc. We're throwing some lightning bolts as well. And at this point, the battle is actually over. The enemy province defense is routing. My Ictiids are routing, but my archers are still fine. I've lost a total of 3 mages. I still have 2 astropelagists. And my infantry has at this point pretty much cleaned up the enemy front line, leaving nothing but mages and archers, and a few last scattered soldiers of the setting sun to stop them. Fire elemental comes out, a lesser fire elemental, but it's too late, and we drive Rlyeh from the field entirely. So, victory to Bogarus. Now, we lost 3 astropelagists. We also lost about 50 units all told. About a third of our heavy infantry, most of the Ictiids, only 3 of the Bandar warriors. They did very well. Most of the lizard warriors, 1 of our Malaya Druzhina, and then a few Voy units we don't care about. Rlyeh, on the other hand, lost everything. Only 5 of their units actually made it back. They lost 3 mystics, 3 dadukos. They actually had 5 dadukos on the field, so they lost 3 of those. So a total of 6 mages, plus 2 commanders and an Erythian commander, and pretty much all their troops, including, of course, all of their soldiers of the setting sun and all of their Erythian phalangites. The army of Rlyeh has been effectively destroyed, leaving my army in possession of the field. We had a local sect in Spires of Ascension. My astropelagist stopped a disaster. We lost a scout in the woodlands because he packed a ton of province defense there. This is, I think, 40 points of province defense. It's a little ridiculous. However, the walls of Rlyeh are moderately damaged, which tells me I have siege strength of 190, sieging at the moment. His wall integrity is 750. The fact that his walls are moderately damaged, which should, I believe, be between 25 and 50% damage, tells me that he doesn't have much of anything defending, because 190 siege strength versus 750 wall integrity, 190 out of 750 is only a little over 25% by itself. So I think he has almost nothing left in there, and I think this is the end of Rlyeh as a state. So, Citadel is moving up. We're moving over a commander to grab the troops out of Wicker Woods. We've got a whole bunch of cavalry down here that are actually moving down this way, and then they're going to take back Caverns of Gold next turn. After that, they'll sweep over here and take back Ogden Mercs. We're going to send out a couple more scouts because they need to be deployed, because we've got them kind of standing around a little bit. That will be fine. Hunky-dory, get me a little bit more visibility. I would say that Utgard is in a little bit of straits, considering that, you know, they've got barbarians besieging this, they've never taken that, they have no troops on the border with me, so they may well be the next target. That would make a lot of sense to me. This army is, of course, sweeping down to retake 177. We're going to be retaking 175 pretty soon. I would like to do a little bit more site searching. I also got Alexei, the Patriarch. Death, Blood, and Holy 4. So he's pretty cool. Unfortunately, he is old, but of course he can use blood magic to make himself younger, and he summons Rlyeh. Now, summoning Rlyeh is kind of a double-edged sword in the sense that, well, you don't really want Rlyeh standing around in your territory, but he can research for now, and we'll figure out something else to do with him in a moment. We're going to hit evocation level 5 this turn. That, of course, will get me the classic Storm Thunderstrike Communion. After that, haven't quite decided what I want. Enchantment wouldn't be awful. Could potentially give me the Eyes of God. It would also give me Anti-Magic, which is a very, very useful spell to be casting at level 4. Thaumaturgy, of course. Going down Thaumaturgy a little bit will give me some more remote site-searching spells, and it would give me, Paralyze, Soul Slay, Vengeance of the Dead, if I can ever cast that, all that kind of stuff. Or I could start to go down Alteration or Blood. Alteration is a good path for both Earth and Air, both of which I have in my communions. I will need Construction before I really go down Blood, so let's pause here to grab Construction for, and then probably start going down Blood. It's a little bit late to be starting off my Blood economy, but I've got a whole bunch of Occultists starting to come out, so those guys will definitely do the job for me. I have 158 gold in the coffers. I'm not really making a ton of gold right now, but that's fine. I'm actually going to stop recruiting these units and that guy. Go back to Bogarusian Scouts. That should give me the money that I need to build a lab here or to upgrade this. Actually, let's upgrade this now. And then I should be able to build labs and such and start increasing my mage production, which will be really handy because I need that badly. So, I don't necessarily need to leave this whole army here, but I kind of want to do it for this turn while I'm moving in a few more troops. And then I'll send those troops out to take 43 and 34, as well as, of course, we're going to have to move over here and capture Uzidyazrin, but only after I've taken Erythia. Right now, we're waiting on the mages to come up with more gems, form the powerful communion. I am rehiring both of my mercenaries, or at least trying to. The fishermen aren't super important. Actually, I may well let them lapse. I'm just going to let them lapse. But I am going to try to rehire the Bandar Band, because they're pretty neato keen. I like them. They're tough. They got spunk. And let's move Pafnuti up there to site search. And who else needs... Where else do I need site searching? I need one guy. You're 12. You're also 12. You guys are 19, however. So I need somebody casting Astral Projection constantly. What? No, not Astral Projection. Sorry, Arcane Probing. Arcane Probing constantly, just to see if I can find more Astral Gems. So, that is turn 27. Excellent. Things are going pretty well. I don't think he has another army to pop out and surprise me with. I think I'm going to take Erythia in about 3 turns or so. We're just going to pour all these troops up in there and storm the place, and it will be great. Actually, I suppose I should recruit more units here, just for now. Let's stick with mostly heavy infantry, toss in a few crossbows. There we go. And so, I think it's Trask. Yeah, Trask will be able to pick them up and take them over this way, just to make sure that Uzidyazrin doesn't get stroppy. And with the 16 province defense and some units parked there, should be fine. Contacted Ohm. Ohm is going to go away, so that'll be great. And I'll see you all in turn 28. Ha! I rhymed. Okay, folks, turn 29. First things first, I forgot to take Caverns of Gold back last turn. I am moving my little force of cavalry to do that this turn. I want to take Ogden Mercs back, but I don't think I can right at the moment. It says they have up to 100 barbarians. It's fewer than that, I think, but still it's some. And I don't really want to send in my cavalry to just get massacred, which they may well be. I need a little more oomph before I can take that back, a little more chaff in particular. However, up here, everything's going fine. Erythia is trying on Discord to buy water gems. I'm trying to figure out why he's buying water gems. because water gems, like... Okay, so... You can use water gems for... No, it's nature gems for foul vapors. He doesn't even have any nature. In terms of water spells that he might conceivably have, I'm going to count on him having up to level 5 and whatever it is that he wants to have, potentially level 6. He could throw down Quagmire, but it would hurt him just as much as me. He could, of course, summon water elementals. That's a perfectly viable combat tactic for him. In particular because I haven't so far deployed a whole lot of magical support except for summoning air elementals myself. For level 5 water and alteration, you don't get a whole lot. He could cast quickness and or slow, which are decent little buffs. He could throw numbness on my troops, I guess. It wouldn't really change the course of the battle, though. Obviously, there's no water spells in blood magic. He could try to cast Sailor's Debt. Doesn't really cost water gems. I'm a little bit puzzled as to what he wants these water gems for, unless perhaps he's trying to kit out a thug to stop my army. If he is trying to kit out a thug to stop my army, that might be a smart idea, but it's not going to work out for him primarily because we're going to set these guys to attack rear, incidentally, because that's how you get into a castle. You tell your guys to attack rear so that they don't get distracted trying to climb up on the wall. The guys on the wall are not very important. Your last line can deal with them, so you guys will attack rear as well. My last infantry line is... That's actually a forward archer line. Okay, so that is my last infantry line. I'm going to swap around a little bit to send those guys forward, and these guys can attack closest. Okay, so here's the thing. I do have a communion setup that's going to be throwing some Thunder Strikes, and then also just a bunch of air elementals once again. When they're communioned up with 4 slaves, they're going to be air 4. I'm also dropping in Rincewind to support, and he will cast Power of the Spheres, or pass pearls off to another mage to cast Power of the Spheres. That will enable the slaves to be slightly higher level than the masters for the purpose of calculation. So effectively, we're going to end up with Summon Air Elemental, for example, only costing 25 fatigue per cast, which will mean that I can summon all these air elementals and throw some Thunder Strikes and still not kill off my slaves, at least not immediately. They'll last long enough to do some good. Meanwhile, Erythia has moved back out and retaken the Unknown Marshes. Fine. Don't really care all that much. There's plenty of province defense in these two provinces, which is why I'm not moving out to take them right at the moment. I am sending out Trast's forces to Emain in order to head these guys off. That's a small group. If they take Xanthrast, they take Xanthrast, like, whoop-de-fucking-do. I don't care all that much. If they take Emain, then they might be trying to, like, get into my territory to raid, so I'd like to head them off. And that's what I've got these guys for. These troops should pretty much put paid to the whole idea. Meanwhile, down here, I am beginning to summon Simargles, and that's because I want to start patrolling a lot more heavily than I have been, and Simargles give you 15 patrol strength, or more than that, actually, for 1 air gem. So I can use them to effectively lock off at least my forts to enemy scouts, and hopefully, ideally, also a few other provinces in between. Meantime, I am going to have one guy go back to summoning Firebirds. I don't have the Fire Gem income to summon a whole bunch of Firebirds, unfortunately. My gem income as a whole, not fantastic. Not fantastic. Return 29, 5, 7, 8, 11, 13. Yeah, not great. Which is a little bit depressing, but, you know, it is what it is. I did find a Sky Split Oak this turn, which is great, so my air gem income has gone up. I love that. And, yeah, as soon as we take Erythia, we'll be able to kind of sweep up the leftovers and close this war down. We'll leave Erythia will end up with, I think, like 1 province in the water, and that should be that. After that, of course, the army is going to have to turn in a different direction. The obvious enemy, once I've cleared out Erythia, is actually Ulm. Potala would be an obvious target, largely because he doesn't seem to have a whole lot of troops near me. But, of course, I don't have a whole lot of troops near him either, and so I'm ill-positioned to attack Potala. And also, he's not quite as threatening, whereas this is actually quite threatening. This is 170, mainly Rangers of Ulm, Rangers of Ulm are dangerous. I don't like them. I would like them to be gone. And of course they're stealthy, so they could cause huge, huge problems. I need to start recruiting some troops over here. I haven't yet, and that's kind of a gamble. I'm sort of leaving this open. Obviously, I'll have to garrison it very heavily if and when a war is about to start, but for right now, it's kind of okay that I'm leaving it basically as a surety, as it were, that I'm not starting a war. Obviously, like I said, I'm going to start putting troops into it. I just don't have the money right now. I don't have the money for anything at the moment. I'm recruiting a whole bunch of Voy archers down here that are supposed to go down and fight off these barbarians. However, I've thought better of that, actually. I don't really want a whole bunch of Voy archers sitting around. I'll go clear those barbarians off with mages in a few turns, and instead I'm going to spend that money up here. I only have 49 resources, so if there's anywhere that Voy archers are going to be useful, it will be in this fort. Yeah, I guess. Voy spearmen might actually be better. Ideally, I would have enough resources to recruit a bunch of Peshtsee City Guard, but I don't. Because the resources are getting sucked off. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to cancel out these independents. I'm going to recruit a bunch of Peshtsee City Guard, and we're just going to transfer those guys over for the castle defense bonus. So their siege defense is 1. They will help siege defense a lot. And we'll have these Voy archers behind them supporting them. They're fairly impregnable to their own arrow fire. Ulmish Rangers are not. Infantry of Ulm and Zweihanders are, but Rangers and Wolves are not, so we might be able to accomplish something there. There's, of course, a castle here. Yeah, that's how things are going here. We've got a bunch of Hydra hatchlings being recruited by Pythium, which is funny. It probably indicates that they're planning to use Foul Vapors as one of their prime strategies, which is fair, you know, valid. I can see it. In terms of research, we're going to grab Enchantment level 4 for anti-magic, and then we're going to start going down blood. We are beginning to recruit Starzi, so we're getting our first one in a couple of turns here. We do have a lab up in Wicker Woods now, so we are recruiting mages from another place, which is grand. I'm actually going to swap that guy for an occultist. And overall, things are going okay. I'm not exactly in a dominant position at the moment. I've got 4 forts, compared to, for example, Patala down here actually has 6. And at least 3 of them are producing mages, so he may be I'm sorry, he has 7, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7. So Patala's actually beating me out in some ways right now. But we'll kind of see. Bogarus is kind of slowing as we're moving into the mid-game here, which isn't what I'd like to see. I would like to maintain momentum. But I think we'll be okay. So, I'll see y'all in turn 30. Alright, folks, it is turn 30, and this has been a pretty decent turn, albeit I am worried about falling the way I'm falling behind the curve mage-wise. I still only have 3 forts producing mages, which is not good. No bueno. This one will be producing mages next turn, and hopefully next turn I'll also have Rlyeh. We have broken the fort, we are storming, they shouldn't have a whole lot defending. I'm not sending in Rincewind, just out of pure safety, for precautions. I'm not sending in Rincewind. We are sending in Mahapindar with his Bandar. Most of my troops are scheduled to attack rear. I do have a bunch of infantry scheduled to attack closest, so they'll go up on the walls and muck up the archers if they get that far. A whole bunch of crossbows and archers set to shoot more or less randomly. We're summoning a bunch of air elementals. We are calling out... I'm actually going to separate these guys out into another squad, incidentally, so that these guys will... no, hold and fire. Yeah, we're going to set them on none targeting orders, so that hopefully they will try to shoot into the rear of the enemy. So, as I said, summoning air elementals... casting Thunderstrike from a couple of mages. We've got, you know, all the basic stuff going on. And I think I should, cross my fingers, knock on wood, be able to roll Rlyeh up pretty effectively. I'm launching Trast into the Unknown Marshes. Doesn't have a whole lot of province defense. I think he's pulled back to his fort, and we should be able to take that. There's no enemy military units there. Like I said, these are going to have to kind of wait for a second till we take those. But pretty soon, we should have Rlyeh under control. The next problem will be Ulm, or possibly Utgard. both of which could be problematic. Ulm in particular has very large armies, although this army is primarily wolves. And since it's about 140 units, well, I had 2 scouts killed this turn by 100 wolves. So he doesn't actually have that many real troops there, and they're mainly infantry of Ulm. Late-age infantry of Ulm aren't incredibly impressive. Comparatively speaking, they're still not bad, but they only have 14 prot and 12 defense skill, so they're not super hard to deal with. The Zweihanders are still very hard to deal with, and of course the Black Templars are extremely tough. But regular, like, Pikeneers, Halberdiers, infantry of Ulm, not super impressive. It's the Rangers, mainly, that are dangerous. Mass, relatively cheap crossbowmen with high precision are definitely, you know, respectable. Something to worry about a little bit. I am going to recruit a Nyaz up here, I think, and fill out with a few more archers. So, that's the plan. We're moving troops over. We're going to set up to retake Ogden Mercs. I do anticipate casualties doing that, but I'm sending in, like, almost 20, like, what is that, 17? 5, 4, 16. 16 Malaya Druzhina plus a few auxiliaries. We've got a few Klisti. We've got a few archers. We're recruiting more archers here to help out. Down here, I can't really recruit anything. I could recruit 1 Black Hood, but I'm not going to bother. And, yeah, overall, not too terrible. We can see Raga and Jomon down here, as well as Man. Got a little bit of vision on them. Overall, I think we have a pretty good idea of what's going on in the area around me. I would like to have more scouts in Utgard, actually, so we're going to launch that scout and this scout over in that direction, I think. And yeah, still recruiting scouts in both of our scout provinces in that area. I would also like to get a lab over here and start getting some Onyx Sorceresses. That wouldn't be a terrible decision, albeit that would mean all my forts are all clustered up. But anyway, might be viable. But for now, the main thing is we're finally taking Erythia. It's turn 30, so, you know, it's honestly a little bit late for that, but if we can take Erythia, knock him out, consume the rest of his territory in fairly short order, we'll be in a good position. And at that point, we can really kind of take the measure and see what's next on the agenda. Yaropolk the Alchemist is about to die. Alas, all these guys are on defend, and I don't know why. Wasn't forging items, was I? Oh, and also, you should have that. I have had that for 2 turns and have forgot to assign it because I'm dumb sometimes. I've got a pretty decent number of occultists, and I'm up to construction 4, so I'm going to move them out. And, yes, I remember why those guys were on defend, because they were recruiting Simargles. So, Nio here is going to move down with the Simargles, and these guys are actually going to continue to summon them monthly. We're going to summon a lot of Simargles because they are just super efficient patrol power. And they're shit in combat, but they can still beat scouts because their attack is, like, decent and they fly, so they can, especially if you have 5 or 6 of them patrolling, they can hop down. And they have a patrol bonus of 10, so plus they fly and have high combat speed, so they give you a ton of patrol strength. How much exactly? Not entirely sure, but it's quite a bit. I'm actually going to take, 4 of them patrolling. Should be able to pretty much hold Zaburia down. This is going to cut into my income pretty deep once I start blood hunting, unfortunately. So we'll just kind of see what develops. I think this scout should actually sneak that way. I think they're patrolling pretty well, no, they're not patrolling heavily there right at the moment. I think his army is actually moving away from Yellow Caves, which is good. But in any case, that is the turn. Not a whole lot of news. We are researching up to enchantment level 4 to get that anti-magic that I talked about, plus Cloud Trapeze. And then we're going to run down blood magic a little ways and get some of the higher level blood magic spells. We should actually get down to level 7 for Curse of Blood fairly soon-ish, albeit casting Curse of Blood is going to be a little bit challenging. I am starting to recruit my Startzi, so I've got a Startz coming out next turn, which should be interesting. And we'll just kind of see what develops. Let's get a couple more Malaya Druzhina in the meantime. So, see y'all in turn 31. Hopefully that the siege attack goes well. I think I've got it set, but we'll find out. Cheers. Alright folks, turn 31, and there was a battle at the Fortress of Erythia. let's see how it went. And the first thing we can see, of course, is that fairly one-sided. Not a lot of magic in here. We have a few Dadukoi. 1, 2, 3, it looks like. They have summoned a whole bunch of Yetis, so that's where their water gems were going. Yetis aren't a bad call. They do have the Chill Aura, which is a solid way to try and disable and muck up people coming in through the entrance. They've also summoned a bunch of Scorpion Beasts, which have decently high protection and 2 attacks, so once again, just sort of delaying action, trying to kill as many troops as possible. Unfortunately, I just brought a lot more magic than they did, in addition, of course, to a lot more troops and the crossbows and the archers and all, and the Bandar up front. But basically, the big dividing line here is that I have a lot more magic than they do. So the crossbows start going out, they start hitting the Yetis, doing a little bit of damage, not a ton, and we begin summoning air elementals. We're also dropping some Thunder Strikes, which are useful. So back here we've got air elementals summoned up. You can see they've dropped a chill something or other on me, a cloud spell. My air elementals charge into the middle of the Yetis and start trampling them to death, which works out pretty well. Thunder Strikes are dropping in the middle, blasting the Yetis, paralyzing some of them, stunning, damaging, etc. My mages then shift to spamming Stellar Cascades, which is an interesting choice. It racks up quite a bit of fatigue damage on these low-prot Yetis. I still, overall, wouldn't have chosen to spam that, but, I mean, hey, if it works, right? This Yeti's up to 79 fatigue, which is not too shabby. So we're going to turbo fast forward, and the air elementals basically just drive the enemy off the map. Everybody dead. Everybody dead. So, that is the fall of Rlyeh. I lost a couple of Bandar warriors, a few other random units, 2 crossbows, 5 of my voice spearmen, 15 units all told, wiped out the defenders entirely, and that is the, honestly, not a whole lot left. They've lost all of their underwater territory. I'm going to take the first forest of the woodlands, and we'll be moving over to Uzid Yazran fairly shortly. Rincewind is searching for magic sites here. I'm splitting my forces somewhat. Sudislav and Yakim are moving up here with a whole bunch of troops to clear out the provinces. They're going to take first forest and woodlands. The rest of my units, including all my mages, are moving down towards the unknown marshes. I should actually remember to assign them some air gems while they go, just to make sure that they can throw out those air elementals and win the siege without trouble. So we'll give them 10 air gems all told. That'll be fine. Pafnuti is going with them troop-wise, and of course we also have Trask, who's already standing here. That'll be enough troops to be going on with for right now. And we'll be able to roll in here, take over Uzid Yazran. It is a fortress now, as opposed to a palisade, which is great. Fantastic timing. Just when I want there to be a fortress there, there is a fortress there. Whole bunch of Rangers of Ulm here in Yellow Caves, so Ulm definitely still bears watching, but I think it'll be alright. We have our lab, so our mage production has now effectively more than doubled. We're recruiting Masters of Names in Wicker Woods in order to buff our research. We also actually, that is actually a Citadel. So, what I should be doing, and it's a good thing I realized and noticed and looked, is I should be double recruiting astropelagists and occultists here. And I should also be recruiting some troops. Now, I can now choose between Malaya Druzhina and Heavy Cavalry. Malaya Druzhina are much better stat-wise. They have higher strength, more hit points, more attack and defense skill. Heavy Cavalry are 10 gold cheaper. That's basically the difference. Heavy Cavalry are 75% of the cost for probably not quite that in performance. In addition, they don't have cold resistance. Even a little bit of cold resistance is actually still useful. So if I'm recruiting cavalry, I'm probably still going to be recruiting the Druzhina. Skipping straight from English to Russian words is hard for my mouth. I'm still probably going to be recruiting Druzhina if I'm recruiting heavy cavalry at all. I also have plate armored crossbowmen here, which aren't terrible, although a little bit high in resource cost. But for right now, I'm gonna just get some Peshti City Guard, build up a little bit of siege strength, much like I'm doing down here. Searching for magic sites. In terms of research, we're gonna hit enchantment level 4, and then start heading down blood, and we are starting to blood hunt. We've got Pavel, all these guys blood hunting here. We've got some more flying puppos, who we are going to assign to. We're actually going to assign the flying dogs to Pimago right now. I probably don't need all 5, maybe just 3 plus the troops that he's got. Actually, no, I'm going to assign all 5 to patrol here, and these troops can be freed up to go somewhere else. While I'm thinking of that, I should This guy, there's only 4 resources in that province. Awkward. I want some commanders, of which at the moment I have none. So I've got Varlam here. I'm going to send him back down there, and we're going to keep summoning Simargles. So we're summoning a whole bunch more Simargles. We're going to start scattering them around and patrolling fairly heavily. I want to be patrolling heavily enough to catch scouts that are at least moving through my forts and kill them. Just in an effort to try and limit the intelligence that the enemy can have about my provinces. I've come to the conclusion that one of my issues in playing Dominions, one of the reasons why I'm commonly caught off guard in the late game, is that I don't scout quite enough, and I let other people scout me very heavily without trying to stop them with patrols. So that's something that I feel like I need to work to change, and I'm going to be trying in this game to patrol more heavily and scout more heavily as well. Speaking of that, of course, I do need to find more air gems. And of course, speaking of commanders, I also have a whole bunch of commanders right here. You should move with the rest. And let's get these 4 moving down that way, maybe. We'll leave a couple. Verbius can go over there to scout. And great. That's a scout province. I don't have any gold right at the moment. Let's cancel 2 of these guys so that I can be recruiting more scouts. And that, I think, will be the turn. So we're going to start the blood. It's actually quite late in the game to be starting off blood hunting. I think my general prejudice against blood magic is kind of showing. But having at least some blood magic for the late game is going to be really, really valuable. So we're going to get that. We're going to take that province. We're going to move over here, take Uzid Yazran, clean up that. And then we may end up fighting Utgard. Utgard doesn't look like they've been having a great time. They've got, you know, barbarians attacking them and taking their forts. They've got cavemen that they haven't bothered to capture. I don't know what's been going on over here exactly. Utgard was fighting Midgard, I've heard. I don't know how exactly that's gone for them, but we're going to kind of push my scouts in a little bit deeper, see what we can see. And I'm in talks with Atlantis to see if maybe they want to help me against Utgard. Now, I hear that Atlantis has just recently stormed somebody's fort and won a lot of resources, but of course also lost a great deal. Atlantis, interestingly, has devils here. I'm not sure if they've gotten a soul contract or what, but that is interesting. And they have lots and lots of lizard shamans. But in any case, we'll kind of see what develops fairly shortly here. So, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all in turn 32.